In this episode of Pop Culture Weekly, I talk with the stars of Slanted and legendary horror icons Bill Moseley and Lin Shaye. Let's go!
Welcome to Pop Culture Weekly with Kyle McMahon from iHeartRadio. Your pop culture news, views, reviews, and celebrity interviews on all the movies, TV, music, and pop culture you crave weekly. Here's Kyle McMahon.
Hello and welcome to Pop Culture Weekly with Kyle McMahon. I, of course, am Kyle McMahon, and this is the show where we celebrate pop culture, question our life choices, and occasionally realize that the people who terrify us on screen could actually be some of the nicest humans alive off screen. Today's episode is a fun one. We're talking about the new film Slanted, which blends sharp storytelling, identity, satire, and characters who are messy enough to feel very real. And we also talk with two legendary horror icons that star in the new horror film Scared to Death. And honestly, it's a pretty honest warning label. So yeah, a little thoughtful storytelling, a little horror, and a lot of great conversations. Let's jump right into it. Our first guest today star in the new film Slanted. Joining me are Maitreyi Ramakrishnan, who many of you know from Never Have I Ever, and Amelie Zilber. And if you've seen Maitreyi's work before, you already know she has this incredible ability to balance humor and emotional honesty in a way that feels very real. In Slanted, she and Amelie help bring to life a story that's funny, sharp, horrifying, and uncomfortable in the best way. And it's very much about figuring out who you are in a world that constantly tries to label you first. The film follows a high school senior navigating identity, belonging, and social pressures in a sharp, satirical, horror-ish story about race and beauty standards and the complicated ways we try to reinvent ourselves, which, let's be honest, is basically the human condition. So let's jump right into it. Here they are, Maitreyi Ramakrishnan and Amelie Zilber.
So congrats on Slanted. It really is such a great film, so smart. And I wonder if when you both read the script, is that something that kind of struck you at it? Is that something that you were like, wow, this is bold and fresh, or was there something else?
Definitely bold. Bold script. Yeah, I was nervous. I was nervous reading this. I was like, I don't know if this is for me. This is pretty controversial, but shout out Amy. She is a true filmmaker because she doesn't shy away from controversial, and she reminded me as an actor that that's the whole point. That's why you make movies. Because controversial movies start conversation. So yeah, but it's definitely bold from top, first page to last.
And how about for you, Amelie?
I mean, same. When I read the script, I was hesitant at first. It's scary and pretty daunting to agree to play a white nationalist, essentially. But ultimately, my greatest asset in this film is being able to be so forward in my cruelty, and that being a driver for all of the choices that Joan makes, which ultimately is the conversation that this film starts. So my personal feelings aside, I was like, this is a true piece of art, and Amy is, like Maitreyi said, a true filmmaker. And it doesn't matter how I feel about this character. If anything, the fact that I'm having such a strong emotional reaction means that this film needs to be made, and it would be my privilege to be a part of it.
I love that. I was just talking with Amy and I said the same thing, like great art is going to make some people uncomfortable, and that's okay because that means it's doing something. And I think what this film does is kind of opens many of our eyes, to things I know that I wouldn't have experienced otherwise. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's supposed to make you feel uncomfortable because art should make you feel,
Yeah.
It doesn't always have to be positive, and also uncomfortability challenges growth. So yeah.
I love that. Do you think, and this is to both of you, do you think that, in a social media world where everyone kind of curates this particular life, do you think we've made it harder to just kind of exist as we are today?
Yeah, big time. I mean, I think social media has lent itself to all of us being very intentional about how we represent ourselves online. We know that in a way, I think like our social media presence becomes like some sort of dystopian like relate has a dystopian relationship to our identities and how we present ourselves. And whether it be as small as like wearing a certain outfit to a real life dinner so you can get a photo in it for your Instagram, or like curating how you talk to people, like if you're an influencer, how you talk to people, how you interact with people so that people say good things about you, like whether or not that's true to who you are. So I do think that there's a really difficult ability to be fully authentic in a world where you are constantly trying to manipulate how others perceive you.
How about for you, Maitreyi?
I think I totally echo everything Amelie said because it is true. There's just so much like living your life in service to your gram, to your any insert social media platform here. But I also think I was having like a bunch of conversations with my like pals recently about how social media also makes you just crazily accessible. Whether you're an influencer, a celebrity, or you just have it even for your personal reasons. Just we've never been more accessible as a like society because of our smartphones and the internet. And because of that, we're always constantly checking in on who needs us, who's trying to contact us at all times, that we don't have any time for ourselves and downtime to just sit, chill, and be intentional with who we're trying to hang out with. Having that intentional hangout with that friend that you want to build that meaningful relationship with beyond just, oh, I send them memes every so often and now we're besties. It's like, that's a crazy definition of friendship. And yeah, just realizing that because we don't have that time anymore, we're not critically thinking nearly as much as we should, especially nowadays, because being told what to think via the internet, via this overwhelming access to ourselves and to others at all times around the clock, you know?
Yes, I completely agree. I could talk to both of you about this topic and all of the themes in the film all day, but I appreciate both of you. I can't wait for everybody to see Slanted. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Have a great day.
Maitreyi Ramakrishnan and Amelie Zilber. My thanks to them. They are both fantastic in Slanted, and the film really does manage to be funny and thoughtful and scary and really uncomfortable enough to make you think, but in a good way. And, that's usually a sign it's doing something right. And of course, every great film also has a creative brain behind it. So joining me now are the people who helped bring Slanted to life. Amy Wang is the film's writer and director, and I also, along with her, have Shirley Chen, who delivers one of the film's standout performances. We talk about where the idea for the film came from, the themes behind the story, and what they hope that audiences take away from it. Because, as you know, satire can be very tricky, I would say. And you want people laughing, but also thinking harder about why they're laughing, right? So let's jump right into it. Here they are, Amy Wang and Shirley Chen.
Congrats on the film. It really is so smart and kind of eye-opening in many ways. This question is for both of you. As you're reading the script once it's finished, which of course you wrote it, was there a moment where you were like, wow, this is uncomfortable but necessary? You know what I mean? This is going to make some people feel a little uncomfortable, and that's all right. Was there a moment reading the script, and was there a moment after you wrote the script?
Yes. I mean, I feel like that moment came probably even before I started writing the script. Just the concept itself, I knew was going to be challenging and, provocative, and that's one of my favorite things. Like I love people like Nathan Fielder, who just push boundaries and really, confront people, because I feel like that's how people change, right? And elicit conversation. So that was definitely always in the back of my mind. But I've done, as Shirley knows, I've done a couple of I don't want to say like controversial short films, but I like to tackle difficult topics because I like to make people feel uncomfortable. And so this just felt like, okay, this feels right. This is, and then at the core of it, so rooted in my personal experience. So it just, I was protected by that because it was so authentic, I think, to my life.
Wow. And how about for you, Shirley, once you read it?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like part of what's a huge part of what makes this fun is that the movie pokes fun at being uncomfortable, whether that's making the audience uncomfortable watching something or the fact that Joan is so uncomfortable in her skin, right? And there's so many moments that feel quite honest. Like I would say maybe the nail salon scene. I remember reading that and being like, "Oh my gosh, like that just gives me the heebie-jeebies of like being in this scenario." And then, then you get this wonderful experience of watching it come out. And I think one of my favorite moments is like the trailer opening on like, "Have you ever suffered the injustices of being a person of color?" And then it cuts to me. Like it just hard cuts to my face. And like it's just awesome, right? There's so much that's like just fun about it. It gets to poke fun at these very real and serious topics in a way that's like at the end of the day, we can also just laugh at how ridiculous it all is.
Yeah, yeah, and I think, great art does that, in my opinion. As kind of as you said, Amy, great art for me, anyway, kind of opens me up to worlds that I may have not have known, or thinking that I may have known, or thinking that I have that I shouldn't be thinking, and something changes my mind about it. To me, that's what great art does. So, I wonder for both of you, the story tackles identity in a way that is smart and is very calculated, and I don't mean that in a negative way at all. I mean, it's very thought out in how it's done. Were you ever nervous, to kind of show up in that way, Shirley?
I mean, I think it's nerve-wracking to admit to a bunch of people like, hey, maybe I don't like myself, or I don't like parts of myself or parts of my culture, right? In a large way, this is a movie that speaks to the Asian American community, and like, I think it's terrifying to think, oh my gosh, am I telling people that look like me that it's not okay to look like me, right? That's like a fear, right? But ultimately, that's not the message of this movie. It's saying like, we you learn who you are by learning who you're not. You get to, and sometimes you kind of like have to learn the hard way, right? We hope that we don't have to, but there's something really cathartic and empowering about being honest about sometimes you don't always like yourself, and it doesn't explicitly have to be a story limited to race. It could be about sexuality or anything that makes you feel different or othered, right? So, I think it's necessary, a necessary
Yes.
conversation.
Absolutely. And Amy, finally, writing it, did you feel nervous kind of being so authentic and putting so much of yourself, your own identity, your own experiences into something that's going to be going out to the world? Or was it freeing?
I would say it's a bit of both, like it was definitely scary. And even now, like we have a, big screening coming up tonight at Vidiots, and there's always the fear of rejection, the fear of, people not enjoying the film as much as, I want them to. But at the end of the day, I remind myself, this is, I mean, I even The Godfather, people hate The Godfather, people hate The Matrix, not saying this movie isn't any, those movies are incredible. But I think everyone is going to take what they want from it. What has been really incredible is every time we have had screenings, overseas and America, the response afterwards has been so incredible. And like I've had groups of like teenage girls come up to me afterwards, and they went to see it together, like a group of 20 of them, and they'll come and say like, oh my god, that's exactly what happened to us last week. And just still feeling I don't know, just that connection with all sorts of people has been really special. But it's hard. putting so much of yourself onto the screen, but definitely also cathartic for sure. And that's something I don't think I'll ever stop doing.
Well, I think it plays beautifully. I can't wait for everybody to see it. Thank you both for being so authentic, and thank you for speaking with me today.
Thank
you for
you,
having
Kyle.
us.
Amy Wang and Shirley Chen. Go see Slanted. It really is smart, funny, thoughtful, scary, and will have you thinking long after you've left the theater. I'll tell you that much. All right, we're going to take a quick break to pay the bills. But in 60 seconds, when we come back, we're heading further into horror territory as I sit down with Bill Moseley, a man who has spent decades terrifying audiences in some of the most beloved horror films ever made. And now he's back with a new movie called Scared to Death. Stay with us, and I'll see you in 60. All right, welcome back to Pop Culture Weekly. I'm Kyle McMahon, and if you're a horror fan, which obvs you are, the next part of the show is going to make you even happier. So, my next guest is someone whose name is basically synonymous with horror. Bill Moseley has delivered some of the most memorable performances in genre history, from Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 to House of a Thousand Corpses and The Devil's Rejects. He's one of those actors who just walks on screen and us horror fans immediately know that we're in for something good. And now he's back in a new film called Scared to Death. Scared to Death revolves around a production assistant who's eager to advance as a director in Hollywood and then proposes to his boss, played by Lin Shaye, that the crew and actors of that horror film should experience a real live seance. And then they go to this 70-year-old abandoned children's shelter for research, and you can imagine what happens. It's really, really great. So we talk about, obviously, Scared to Death. We talk about his incredible career, the joys of working in horror, and what audiences can expect. Here he is, Bill Moseley.
Good to see you, man. You look like you're bundled up for winter.
I am. We got a blizzard here overnight, so I'm not happy. I'm not a blizzard type of guy.
Where are you?
I'm in Delaware.
All right.
Yeah. So Philly, DC, Baltimore, kind of in the middle of all that. So,
I'm coming to Pittsburgh on Thursday.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. For a con?
Yep. Horror Realm Con.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yep.
I went to my first con last month called Monster Mania. And
it
was
in
great.
Cherry Hill?
Yes. Yeah, it was really great.
Awesome.
So let me ask you, I obviously want to talk about Scared to Death, which I loved, but I want to go back for a moment if we can.
Sure.
You have played some of the most memorable characters in horror, somebody from Chop Top to Otis Driftwood to Felix. I love. What have these been conscious choices for you, or have you kind of just read this, gone script by script, or is there a certain type of role you look for?
It's the roles look for me, and I'm very appreciative of that. With Texas Chainsaw, with Chop Top, I was so freaked out by the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre that I made a short film back in 1984, I guess, called The Texas Chainsaw Manicure. And 5 minutes, shot in Staten Island in a beauty parlor, and I played the hitchhiker in that. And a friend of mine showed that 5-minute short to Toby Hooper, who directed the original Chainsaw, and he liked my performance so much as the hitchhiker, he hired me as Chop Top, and that's how I got into the business. And the special effects makeup guy in Chainsaw 2 is Tom Savini, and Tom Savini then got the job of directing the remake of Night of the Living Dead and brought me along as Johnny. So it's just so funny how that all works. And then meeting Rob Zombie years later, I think it was October of 99, I emceed a little horror award show here in LA at the Universal Studios, and I was made up as Chop Top. And and with a tuxedo, and I handed a horror award to Rob Zombie, who freaked out because he was a big Chop Top fan. And a month later, he called me up and offered me the part of Otis Driftwood in House of a Thousand Corpses.
Wow.
It's just so funny how it kind of works. I mean, I didn't audition for any of those. It's just funny how they just kind of reach out and pull you when the time is right.
I love that.
All you got to do is say yes.
I love that too. All you got to do is say yes.
Yeah.
Is there a role that you've done that you feel like people have misunderstood?
No, not really.
Okay. I think with horror,
Misunderstood, like they didn't get where I was coming from, or misunderstood, like they should have, clapped louder.
yes, both. Yes, to both. I feel like a lot of times horror doesn't really get its due as a true art form, and oftentimes I've found some things that may not have landed upon their release. 20 years later, you have people like me, meticulously rewatching them and be like, oh my God, and then it's a buzz online and all that kind of thing. I didn't know if there was anything like that in your career.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. I've done a lot of work, and a lot of it probably falls into that category. Just last night I was watching, for some reason I was watching an old movie I did, which I never really watched all the way through, called Exit Humanity. It's a Civil War zombie movie, and I play an evil Confederate general. Also, I did a movie a couple of years right before the start of COVID. I did a movie called Prisoners of the Ghostland.
Yes, with Nicolas Cage, right?
Nicolas Cage, and played the governor. And that movie it started off getting love because it was a Sundance selection. But unfortunately, it was the year of COVID, so all of that was done remotely. So that was kind of sad. But, it never really took off. Good old, the director is a Japanese director named Sion Sono. And he has done some amazing movies. I think especially Cold Fish is my favorite. There's a movie called Tag. There's just a bunch of his stuff, which are really, really cool movies. So Prisoners of the Ghostland, Exit Humanity. There's been a bunch, but I'm just really glad that, for the Rob Zombie trilogy, glad for Chop Top, glad for, Repo, the Genetic Opera, where me and Ogre sing and dance our way through a lot of mischief and mayhem.
That's a great one.
With Paris Hilton.
With Paris Hilton.
Yeah.
After decades of doing this, being in the horror world especially, what was the moment for you that was like, you've become one of those people that have become an icon especially in this genre? Was there a moment that hit you?
Not really.
No. Okay.
I mean, in other words, I don't think of myself that objectively. I'm just glad to get the work. And I'm glad because there's, no two parts are the same. No two movies are the same. No two experiences are. And so it's always, it's a challenge. Every job is a challenge. Can I memorize those lines? Am I going to, hitting my marks and doing that kind of stuff is pretty old hat. So I'm comfortable with doing that. I'm comfortable on a set, like all the different people with their wires and their lights and their cameras and makeup and, touching me with little powder puffs, all that stuff I can stay in character. But it's always a different experience. And I think that's really the most fun of it all. It's not tedium by any stretch, because it's not the same thing ever.
Why do you think that audiences, embrace monsters?
Well, life is scary. I think that's really what it comes down to. And I think, horror movies, or, Stephen King books. I mean, horror movies, basically that's, an hour and a half. So it's like 90 to 100 minutes. There's usually, traditionally the screenplay is, 3 acts, beginning, middle, and an end. You start getting scared originally, and then you go through the story, and then at the very end, there's some kind of a climax, there's a resolution, and it's 90 minutes. You got a box of popcorn, if you're in a movie theater, which most people aren't anymore. But it's basically it's very tidy. And usually, for the most part, there's a resolution or something that keeps you thinking. But it's it makes life a little more manageable instead of just the terror of uncertainty. It could be a wonderful day. You're out with your best friend, and all of a sudden, a piano falls out of a plane and crushes you both. Yeah, who knows?
Yeah.
Or that visit to the doctor, you get a bad report, or whatever it is. And with a horror movie, at least, you get it's a stylized version of it and something that you can control a little bit more.
Say it's safe.
Yeah.
So, Scared to Death. I love this film. It's so fun. I'm obviously huge horror fan, and it walks a very, fun line between kind of comedy and horror. It reminds me a lot of Sam Raimi's work. And what drew it to you? What drew you to it?
Well, I mean, I was available, so that's always important. It was SAG and fully funded. That's always important. And first and foremost, I got to say was the fact that Lin Shaye was a part of it. And I've worked with Lin on a couple of movies. I've worked with her on 2001 Maniac's Field of Screams, and also a movie we did in in New Orleans, directed by Ashley Hamilton, called Gothic Harvest. Mm-hmm. And I've known Lin either through the conventions or just socially for many years. And so to have her attached to Scared to Death was a big plus.
I'm sorry.
Oh, in addition to a really good script, and Paul Boyd, who's a fantastic director. So all of that and the fact that it was being shot about 20 miles from where I live, that helped too. So it was like a day job, as opposed to a location.
Did you, as you're reading the script, do you start kind of putting your own, how does that process work for you as an actor when you're reading this and you're deciding how to play him? Is it is it a vision thing for you? Is it you sit down with a notebook and start, how does that process come to you so you end up seeing what we see on screen?
Well, I mean, I do read the script. I sit in that chair. You can see back there, it's missing a cushion, but that's my chair where I meditate. And, you just sit there and read it. You can close your eyes or keep them open. You just kind of follow the story, get into it. And that's really what I do. I try to read the script 3 or 4 times and just see who the people are, see what the situation is, see what the action is, the backstory, just use your imagination. And if you keep, if you use your imagination, it's like a muscle. And, I try to use mine a lot. It's like a workout. And, you just sit there and read read it from, page 1 to page, 100. And, it starts to come, little by little, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly, but eventually you kind of just get the general idea. And, it depends. If you like the story, if it's a good story, that's really what it comes down to. It doesn't have to be Marvel, with, $100 billion worth of, green screen computer graphics. You can do it for, as I say, you can do it for $150 and one of these, what is that? That's a iPhone.
Yeah.
With Chop Top on it,
Yeah.
my little Chop Top decal. So somebody wants to say, "Hey, wait a minute, that's my phone." I go, "Oh yeah, pal, lick my plate, you dog dick."
As you're filming, as you're rapping, really, do you look back and do you let it go until the premiere, or are you the type of actor that's kind of still thinking on it, or are you ready to go to the next project?
Well, there are certain obligations, professional obligations, like doing press for it, staying in touch with other castmates sometimes, being supportive. There's always, the production part of it is just the middle, talk about the three acts. And the most important act is post-production, where you can really just, depending on what scene or what take of a scene and how you shoot it and how you cut it, you can really change the movie around, radically. So there's always that. There's ADR, so you have to, maybe, the sound guy, screwed up some take, and you have to go there and, revoice. Yeah, so there's a whole lot of stuff that goes on after you've done shooting, to support the movie. And then, of course, press is really important, and social media. It becomes it becomes a big deal. For me, I'm moving on. I just did something a couple of weeks ago, called The Gulf of America. And I just had, it was a scene, it was pretty much a monologue that was just so well written and so cool. The story was so cool that, man, I showed up, and mercifully that was 15 miles from here. So that was also helpful. But, I just like to work. I like to use my imagination. I like to play these different characters. And, it's a challenge.
Finally, for you, after everything you've done, I think there's 150 plus credits to your name, and
Great.
it's beautifully insane. What keeps you saying yes to horror? You're at a point in your career where you can decide to not or to do a project. What keeps Bill saying yes?
Well, my wife likes expensive shoes. I guess an old Ron Perlman life. Actually, what else am I going to do? Well, I got to sit around and, clip roses? I don't think so. It's what I like to do. And it's what fires me up, I got to say. Just like that Gulf of America, they say, well, here's this. It's not very much, money or whatever it is. And not necessarily in that case, but, you got to have a challenge. It's who I am. It's what I do. It's, I still take singing lessons. I've done that for, singing lessons for since 1991.
Wow.
That's when I started taking singing lessons. I still have the same teacher. And so what is that? 9 and 26 is 35 fucking years. Every Tuesday I go and sing, I Want to Know What Love Is, or Hotel California. So you just kind of keep in shape, keep going. I also go to writing class, an online writing class. You've got to keep the brain moving, keep the challenges going. And, the nice thing about the genre is, the horror genre is, the older and uglier you are, the more work you're offered. So I'm in my prime, man.
I love it. Bill, I could talk to you all day. You're amazing. I love the film, Scared to Death. I can't wait for everybody to see it. And I'm going to be shouting from the rooftops for people to go see it at a theater, because that's, to me, where every film should be seen first.
Yeah.
If you can. And I appreciate you so much, Bill. Thank you very much for speaking with me.
My pleasure, Kyle. Thank you, man.
Thank you. And I hope to see you
and stay warm. Stay warm.
Thank you. And I hope to see you at a convention.
Sounds good.
Thanks. Bill Moseley, my huge thanks to him. It's always fun talking with someone who's spent decades scaring audiences and somehow still comes across as incredibly nice and charming. And of course, we're not done with horror yet. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, another horror legend joins the show. The one and only Lin Shaye stops by to talk about her incredible career and her role in Scared to Death. See you in 60. Welcome back to Pop Culture Weekly. My next guest is someone whose career spans decades and dozens of films, like quite literally. And if you're a horror fan, you know her. Lin Shaye has appeared in everything from cult classics to major horror franchises, including her unforgettable performances in the Insidious series. She's one of those actors who can walk into a scene and instantly make that scene better, or scarier. And now she's starring in Scared to Death along with Bill Moseley. So she is joining me to talk about her career, the film, and why horror continues to be one of the most exciting genres out there. Here she is, Lin Shaye.
Thank you for having me. It's fun to discuss everything and hear your perspective. So good.
Well, thank you. I absolutely love Scared to Death, and I want to get into that. But if we could go back for a moment, if that's okay.
100%.
You have had an amazing career so far. I think your first film, and please, Lin Shaye, forgive me for saying this, but I think it was 1975, Hester Street, and I believe your role was horror.
Horror.
Okay,
I was horror.
Sorry.
I was horror, and I had, I think, one line. And Joan McLean Silver, who was an innovator, there were no women making movies at that time. And she came up with this one of Carol Kane and Stephen Keats. It's still a true classic. And yeah, it was my first film role. And my mother, I've told this story. You probably have heard it. I was so excited to be in a movie. I mean, I was still a young actress trying to get my first role here and there. I was doing mostly theater, and I got cast as this prostitute. And so we were in the theater, and I went with my mom. And when the credits rolled, it said Lin Shaye horror, and my mother got up and threw up.
Oh no!
She started walking out of the theater and actually just threw up right out of the ladies' room. It was very embarrassing, but that was my anointing into the film industry.
That's a great story, though.
Yeah, yep.
And when you look back at that first role to today, did that girl ever imagine all of this?
No.
No.
I never imagined movies even, because I was a theater actress and I'd always done plays and kind of worked my way up in New York. I went to Columbia. I was in their theater department. I got a master's degree from Columbia in theater, and it was a wonderful place to be because this was the 70s, and there was American Place Theater and Lincoln Center and Playwrights Horizons and everywhere you could think of, Manhattan Theater Club. All these theaters, which then became very big theaters, were all off-Broadway theaters. And I was always working. I was doing a reading. I was doing another play. I was going to do this. I was going to do a scene. I was never stopping, but I had no idea about being in movies at all. I didn't really know very much about it. And had some very early good experiences. Walter Hill cast me in Long Riders, which was I also had one line. I was very big on having one line. But I'm grateful. I mean, everything leads to other things. And you always do the best you can, ask questions when you don't know the answers, and say thank you. Those are all very important things to get your film career going.
I love that. And, you, in a lot of ways, you got your bigger break later on in your life. What did that teach you, or what does that say about timing for you?
I don't even think about that part of it so much. I always wanted to get the job. That was I didn't think about this job would lead to another job. And if I do that job, then that job is good. I never even thought. I was always moment to moment. I was so excited to get cast in anything. And really I love acting. It's really an incredibly interesting journey into other people's hearts and minds, and yet it's created by your own heart and mind. I mean, it's a really fantastic experience. And so I didn't have any idea, really. I when I was a little girl, that's how I entertained myself, because we didn't have a lot of kids in the neighborhood. So my mom would give me a big box with ribbons and crayons in it. And then I would take all my clothes out of my closet, and with my stuffed animals and my dolls, I would make up plays in front of the mirror, and I would write stories and with my crayons and I would show them to the bear on the couch and then to the stuffed dog that I slept with. And it was like I was nurtured. My creativity was nurtured. Every kid, all I can say is anybody that's got kids out there, take this away from them, please, because you're short-circuiting their own imagination. And I am so grateful that mine was nurtured. And look what happened. It like worked.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually get paid to do what I do.
Right.
Not that much, but a little bit, but nevertheless.
You have found you've become a horror legend. You are I would say, scream queen in so many ways. Do you feel you kind of sought out that at a certain point, or did horror kind of find you?
I think horror kind of found me in a way because I never really differentiated, and a character is character. And if you're in a terrible situation and try to kill somebody, that's part of your character. And, if you're sitting at a dining room table and talking about, your Cub Scout meeting you just were at with your kid or whatever. So it's really, I don't really make the differentiation so much. It's always the story comes first. What is the story? And even your character doesn't come first, because your character has to support the tale you're telling in the story and then make it even heighten it. But you got to start with the material. That's always very important. And you have to be able to justify who your character is within that material. And I mean, that's the way I kind of discovered working was the most important way, because if you just bring in random stuff that doesn't fit anywhere, even if it's wonderful, then you're sort of solo, and that is not usually your role in a film. You want to support the story and the other characters. So I kind of just like it all. I mean, I love being able to create ideas and have them support other people's ideas.
And clearly it's worked. And, I think one of the things that so many people I know I do, I love that you do in your work is you kind of elevate it. So in other words, I feel like unfairly horror tends to get kind of the short end of the stick in regards to maybe critics or that sort of thing, where people, a certain section of people feel it's very throwaway. And I think you prove that, you can bring incredible acting to any project.
Oh, I agree 100%. You still got to do, the important thing is to do the work. The rule is there's really no small parts. There's only small actors. I mean, it's really true. I mean, there's many other examples of that, but I mean, part of the fun for me is it's not about the size of the role. It's really about what can you contribute. When I think about Kingpin in particular, which was one of my all-time favorite success stories in a way, may I say, because they didn't want to see me for that, and I had to fight for it. And it was a very short little scene with, I was grateful to work with Woody Harrelson, who still to this day is, yes. He was the best ever. One of my favorite scene partners ever. But that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's like what you bring is what people are going to remember. And I've been really grateful that that's how I feel and think. Because I had one line in some TV thing. I can't even. Marshall Hershkovitz was the producer. He was a big producer in the 60s or 70s. It was the 70s, I think. And it was a big fan show on TV. And I had one line, and I remember him calling me and saying, "You have no idea how much you contributed to that scene." And I just thought, what are you talking about? I had one line. He said, "That's what I'm saying." He said, "You have no idea how much that changed the way other people performed that day."
Wow.
And I was so like, wow. It was really an incredible, wonderful experience to be singled out by the I think he was the executive producer or producer And to always find the juice in any in one line. There's something you can contribute, and I love that as an artist. That's why we're part of the reason we're doing what we do. So
That's
I'm
great.
doing this.
Now, Scared to Death, it reminds me of like a Sam Raimi film, how it kind of, flirts with comedy and horror and kind of goes back and forth. And it's just fun for me as a viewer. What drew you to that? What made Lin Shaye say, this is something that I want to do?
I just love the character. She's nasty and attractive. Those are both. I don't think I'd ever played nasty and attractive before, and that she has a reason that she's like she is. That we got to discover that she's not just a one note badass. I mean that she had her history also created this character that was nasty to other people. And I love that you see it in a, kind of subtle, nice ways throughout the film as well, that she changes and you see what she dealt with as a kid. So it has, a real kind of heart to it. And I love Paul and I love Eric. I mean, they're just two really wonderful people to work with for me and who I have great respect for. So it was a win-win situation, in every way. And I'm very happy that people really are enjoying the film and and having an experience of their own with it, which is great.
What you've said before in interviews that, horror is really about the emotional truth. What is the emotional truth for you in Scared to Death?
Ooh. That people can hurt you and change you. And it's your responsibility to emerge from that triumphant, that you don't have to become who they've made you be, but you can still become, you still have to remember there's a world out there that you have to articulate. And what does it make you feel? And you don't have to be the way they told you you're supposed to feel, that you have to take it in yourself and think, maybe this is good. Maybe Jasper's a really good guy. What if he has something to teach me? You got to stay open. It's hard. I mean, I'm the first one to say, I'm not doing it. And, and get out of my, I'm not doing it. We're not doing it. And then I have to settle down and think, okay, take a deep breath, Linda, which is my real name and know how I talk to myself, and to really take a deep breath and look out, because we get so caught inside ourselves. And I think that's how we destroy ourselves. You're not allowing, there's all kinds of stuff around that will pull you away from the negative. Look outside one day and watch the bird that's landed on the thing. I hate to sound corny, but it's not corny. I mean, I'm so happy in the way I live because I have a lot of nature around me. All I have to do is walk out my door if I'm not feeling great about something. It's all I have to do. And all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, suddenly you can feel everything open. And that's how you stay healthy also. Constriction is what makes people sick. Remember that. It's about, when they say breathe, they really mean breathe. And we all have that capacity, and we all have to remember we have it, because that will help us stay well and move forward.
That is beautiful. So, for Scared to Death, you've done, smaller indie films. You've done big budget, giant studio films. How do you find as an actor, if any, the difference in that system for you as an actor approaching that?
I think it's the same. I mean, I think whether it's a lot of money or a small budget, it's still about cooperation, being a good listener, being a contributor. Don't be a complainer. If you have something that's not working, you can still express it, but don't. And don't. I get that. I'm not going to do to me. You have to go to the person that can maybe help change it, and always be polite. I mean, being courteous goes a long way in our business, because there are a lot of people, they're so they're so short-circuited by all the it's a tough business, and to stay centered, and everybody wants something. Every single second is solving a problem. Every second is solving another problem. And so I think you can contribute by taking a deep breath and again being a good listener to what's around you, kind of opening yourself up. And sometimes you got to be a little quiet on set. I don't care if you're the star or you're not the star or you're a gopher or whatever. Sometimes you just have to settle and be a listener to see what the next positive move is to make. So I forgot what you asked me.
You answered it. You answered it wonderfully. You've done 150 some plus projects. Is there something that you haven't yet done that you're like, I'm going to do that. One of my next 5 projects, I'm going to do that.
I don't think so. The only thing I thought of is I don't ever want to do Shakespeare because I could never learn that. And I was watching oh my God, on late night on Stephen Colbert, Sir, the most wonderful English actor on the planet, who is oh my gosh, I've been talking so much today, I can't think. But he did a Shakespeare soliloquy that I was bawling. It was so beautiful, and I thought I could never do that, and I really don't think I could. I have too much fear in me about and on some level that would not allow me to learn that, to be able to learn it and to perform it. Not so much that I don't understand it even, because oh gosh, it's gonna kill me because he's one of the most famous English actors. Can you think who it is?
I'm like my brain is racking up.
Okay, look up Stephen Colbert and Shakespeare and see what shows up. It's material that I think goes beyond me, and I hate to admit that, but that's how I feel. I don't really it would take me so long to really understand what I was saying and to be able to take that into my system and then to be able to deliver it to someone else. I find that magic, and I feel like I'm aware of my own limitations, and so I respect those, and I'm old enough to go, I don't have to kill myself over, that I'm clear about the things I'm good at and what I love doing. And hopefully I can do that for very many long more years, so, did you find it? Did you find
That's what I'm looking up right now.
Okay. It's going to make me crazy. It's
Shakespeare.
And it was just on.
Sir Ian McKellen.
Yes.
Sir Ian McKellen. He is incredible.
Oh my God. He had us. I mean, it was thrilling because I understood every word he said. And when I look at it on a page, I go, I don't really know what that means. And I don't really know. I mean, I have a fear factor that I could do without, but I'm still there. But when I literally sat on my couch just weeping. It was so beautiful. So I have to know my limitations of what I'm really good at. And I don't have to get mad at myself for the things I don't want to tackle because I'm still have fear, and try and use all that stuff to filter down into the work I do and will do and present back to you. That it's the human condition.
I love that. And finally, you've done such incredible work over, so many titles. What do you want people to remember about your work? 100 years from now, 300 years from now, or you?
I just hope they remember something. I don't, I guess truth, maybe, exposing a part of self that we all have that people don't often visit, to surprise people a little bit with things about themselves that they haven't thought to really consider. But that's a great question. I'm going to think about that one for a while. I'm just so grateful to have this life I have. I mean, it's just I'm having a wonderful, wonderful time, and I really want to give back everything I can to support. I love telling young actors, giving them hope, and it's so easy. because they want to hear it. And so I love giving as much as I can give to someone else to make them believe in themselves. That would be a gift for me to be able to give.
Wow. That's beautiful. Thank you so much, Lynn. You are a legend, an icon, and such a sweet person. I really appreciate your time.
Well, this was a great interview. You also made me feel good about myself with my answers to your wonderful questions, and that. Thank you for that as well. So
thank you, and I hope to talk to you for your next project.
Yep, we're gonna be.
Have a great day.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Lin Shaye, always great talking with someone who has helped literally shape modern horror the way she has. And again, if you're ready for something spooky, you can check out Scared to Death, which is out right now, and I highly recommend it. All right, that's today's episode of Pop Culture Weekly. We talked about Slanted and dove headfirst into Scared to Death, which means today's episode had satire, identity, and people who have spent their careers terrifying audiences in the best possible way and to our delight. And honestly, that's a pretty good pop culture mix. If you enjoyed the show, make sure you're subscribed wherever you listen so you never miss an episode. And for video interviews, pop culture deep dives, and more fanboy moments than I should probably admit to publicly, check out the Pop Culture Weekly YouTube channel. Until next time, keep watching great movies, avoid haunted houses when possible, and I'll see you next time. I love ya. See you next week. We out.
Thank you for listening to Pop Culture Weekly. Hear all the latest at popcultureweekly.com.
Lin freaking Shaye and Bill freaking Moseley. Lin freaking Shaye and Bill freaking Moseley.